guys, so today we're going to go one step further in the open text model, and that is going to be looking at a Greek example. And I think, if you haven't already noticed by looking at the right column, the example we are going to do is John 3:16, because that's something that most people learned from being ATAL, and knowing it in your head is going to make this a little bit easier, because the last thing we did together was an English example, and now we're going to do a Greek example. That's a really big jump, so let's do something that we all know. So coming here on opentext.org, we're going to click on New Testament right here, and we're going to click on John 3, and we're going to scroll down to 16 here. Alrighty, so here's the open text annotation, and this is such a great tool because, of course, the New Testament being so important, amazing scholars, a billion times smarter than I am, and a billion times smarter than most of us are, have made these annotations that are accurate and precise, and we might disagree with them at times, but again, it's a great tool. So if you were to look at a Greek, just standard Nestle Aland version of this, and if you didn't know this text by memory really well, this would probably be confusing. This would be confusing for me. I'd look and I'd see Gar, okay, that's that 4, and then the order is all funky. The order is all funky. So that's one of the difficulties of Greek, is understanding that the order of words that the Greek scholars used is different than the order that proper English uses. So going between them is a transition for sure. So let's look at the open text model here. I'm going to pull up the Interlineary Bible here, so just to help us along here. Alright, so the first thing we should notice looking at this left-hand column here, verse 16, is that Gar is a postpositive conjunction, so that's going to be glossed first. So for. The next thing we're going to look at is the subject. So for God, of course, we're not going to actually say the God, the article, the ha in hatheos, because that was their way of indicating that they're speaking about the one God, not one of the thousands of gods. So for God. Next, we're going to look at the predicator, the verb. So for God, agapesen. You probably are familiar with that sort of a word. So for God, love, that's an aorist, and of course, if you actually, I don't think I can do this on my tablet. If you hover over it, it'll actually give you a gloss. But for God, loved, and then the adjunct is what modifies the predicator, so the hutos there. So for God loved so much. The complement answers the question of who or what is being affected by the action. So let's piece this whole thing together. For the subject, God loved so much the world. And then moving down to the next part of this, we got hoste, which is a conjunction indicating a new clause. Also, the finite verb, the adokin, indicates a new clause. But if you're ever curious about how they do this, that oste really does indicate a new clause. But yeah, continuing on here, that, and then the predicator comes before the complement. So that adokin, he gave the Son, the only. Or you could say his only Son, because that's what most of us know. So hopefully you guys can see how this is useful in understanding that the order you look at things should be predicator, subject, and then either adjunct or complement. Those can be interchanged. And that really helps going from Greek to English. So if you were to just try to go word for word, this is what you'd get. And it wouldn't be correct, again, because Gar is postpositive, but you'd get so much for love the God, the world. That's what your literal gloss would be. And OpenText helps you get around that literal gloss into glossing it properly and correctly into English. So I hope this has been a helpful video for you guys, and have a great day.